Hello and welcome to the third episode of Tarot Rebel Podcast. This episode is brought to you by Gogo.
And Chas. Disclaimer, we are not responsible for waking up the masses.
Well, hello. Here we are.
Hello again. It's that time.
Third episode. I think we have a winner. I think we succeeded. We're three
We
episodes
did.
in. Yeah.
Third
time's the charm. Exactly.
Think, as
Again,
always.
here. Yeah. Reading each other's minds, as it always does happen.
Always,
Mhm.
every time. So, third time is the
I think
charm.
for the people who don't know us and just regular muggles to would be listening to us, it would be a bit weird because we always seem to be thinking the same thing or saying the same thing in different ways.
Pretty much, like,
So,
all
yeah.
the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
You
I
call
think
it the same person.
I think at this point, we're just used to it, right? Like, it just happens.
Oh my god, I just had an idea. We should
Mhm.
get a shirt and print out Twitches. Have you seen that movie?
OMG. Yes. OMG.
That'd be
Yes.
freaking
Let's
fun.
do it.
That
Let's do it.
that would be fun. Oh my god.
No, we put
Yes.
up the pics on Instagram. Like, we'll make like a video. Like,
Yes. Okay. We are doing that. Okay. Plans. Let me make a note. Let me take a selfie.
make a note. Take notes.
Yes, take notes. So, today, we will be delving into the topic of misconceptions and misinformation, let's say, about the topic of tarot, cartomancy in general, but mainly kind of the focus will be on tarot, the ways in which people have learned tarot works and stuff like that.
Phone call.
Pardon me? Yes. Fucking shit,
Hello?
it's not stopping. It's not
Telefono.
stopping. Yeah, that's a house phone for anybody who doesn't have that anymore. It's a landline. And a lot of people are just
Landline.
weirded
Yeah,
out by that.
That was a landline ringtone, that's for sure.
Oh yeah. So where did we stop?
It's
Okay.
a telemarketer. It's a telemarketer. Tell them to kick rocks.
No. I will kick their ass. If I could, I would kick their ass through the phone. Like I don't. Oh my god. Or the ones that have the questions, like questionnaires and shit, and I'm like, this is like 5 minute quick, like.
Oh gosh, those are the worst.
And then I'm on the fucking line for 15 to 20 minutes, and I'm like, is this 5 minutes in your world? Because this is like 20 minutes in mine.
It's horrible. I know, those are the worst. I have like a block on my phone. I used to have a landline, and that's all I would get. I would just get telemarketers. But in any event, all right. So
back to tarot.
as we were, so that's a whopper of a topic today. So yeah,
it is. It is a big topic, but I do think that it is an important topic as well because so many people have different ideas about tarot, and there is actually a bunch of information out there which is absolutely fantastic, but at the same time I feel like there is a lot of contradictory information that people get and are able to kind of find. So I hope we can give our own perspective on everything and potentially clear some things up, I guess.
Yes, absolutely.
What would be for you first thing, or like the biggest misconception that you can think about tarot? The biggest thing that you hear the most, or that you have experienced the most with your clients, other colleagues, people, that's like it's not true about tarot, but people say it or believe it.
I already got one. It's already swirling. I think the biggest one, and I'm sure you've gotten this too, is the fact that it's a evil, demonic tool that summons up from the depths of hell
Oh
demons and
yeah, Linda
ghosts,
over here be summoning demons and Satan and be having tea with
or that
Lucifer and just like
people that read tarot are Satanists, and we
Mhm,
sacrifice virgins, and we bathe in virgin's blood because we read tarot, and and I could go on, and that's usually the first thing that
mhm,
people assume, especially if they were raised with strong religious belief systems, like
mhm.
organized religion. And
Yeah,
again, despite the misconception, there's no dogma attached to tarot.
yeah, that is true.
Tarot, I mean, historically, right, G? Like, historically, it was created by a society of, like, metaphysical, wealthy people. Because,
Well, yeah,
Arthur
the
Waite,
origins date back to 13th or 14th century when it was
yeah,
originally used in court. I think it was Louis XVI or something. At that
absolutely.
point, they played with the cards rather than using them for prediction. And then at a later point, I think 16th, 17th century, it started to be used for more divinatory practices or divination in general. And then by the early 1900s, we got the Rider-Waite-Smith tarot, which
Right.
is then kind of a full-on New Dawn deck that was just completely
Exactly.
directed towards divination. So there's a long history with that, and it's very interesting because the roots, some people say, go all the way back to Egypt. But I feel like at the end of the day, it's a mixture of different things. When you really look at all the aspects and all the imagery and everything presented in it, it's a mixture of a lot of things and a lot of different cultural aspects at that point.
I mean, we could take this all the way in depth. Like, I've had conversations in the past with colleagues and other readers in the community about the origins of divination and divination
Yeah,
tools, and essentially that's what tarot is. Tarot is a divination tool.
exactly.
It's a beacon in which to open up that third eye.
Yeah.
It's a deck of cards, ladies and gentlemen. It's a deck of cards
Yes,
with
exactly.
pictures and classic pictures. Like we talked about, the original deck was the Rider Waite that was created by Arthur Waite, and he
In
was a
1909.
yes,
For anybody
with
who's like a bookworm, loves facts, 1909.
1909. Interesting, 99, right?
Yes.
But he was a member of the Order of the Golden Dawn, and they were a society of metaphysicists, and they were some were of wealth, and yeah, and he was an artist and came up with these paintings and concepts, and yeah, essentially that's how it got started. And
Yeah.
there is some controversy attached with the Order of the Golden Dawn, like Illuminati.
Yeah. And kind of a Crowley being in there, which wasn't like
And
the
yeah,
most
and
positive
Crowley,
figure. There were some darker aspects attached to that entire scene. But when you
yeah,
actually
they
look
booted
at
him
it,
though.
yeah,
He was
but at
booted.
the end of the
He
day,
was booted. Hmm.
But at the end of the day, when you look at it, again, you have that positive and, well, not positive, the light and the dark aspect, which I feel like brings real value to tarot, right? It brings
Absolutely.
real
Yeah.
value. And to go back to the topic of what you were saying, like it's used for demonic stuff, summoning demons, whatever, it's satanic and stuff like that. Like nowhere in tarot will you see an depiction of sacrifice or negative kind of aspects like that. You do have some more graphic scenes with the, for example, the original right away, let's say Three of Swords, is not necessarily as bad. You have the heart pierced with three swords. Then Ten of Swords, that may be a bit more triggering for some people where you have the Ten of Swords actually sticking into the person and they're like in the person and they're lying down. stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you don't necessarily have any connotations with any sort of satanic or harming practices when you look at the actual imagery within the tarot system. There's nothing that would be indicating like you're going to pull a card and now you have to murder somebody. Fuck no.
Right. And I think, yeah, it's like everything else, there's light and shadow aspects. And
Exactly.
I think that is the hardest pill to swallow for many people. It's a
Hmm.
hard concept to grasp that both sides of nature should be acknowledged, because for so long we were, most of us were taught that the dark was essentially evil, and it's something that we are not to acknowledge, we're not to talk about, we're not to even look at, or just stay
Exactly.
away. And that's really not true, because nature is both light and dark, loving and cruel,
Yeah.
and that is part of our human nature.
Yeah.
And in order to maintain balance of the self and nature as a whole, then it's required to acknowledge both sides. And again, this is always, for the longest time, I would say for a couple of millennia, that this has been the long ongoing battle,
Hmm.
good versus evil, or light versus dark, and this has been an ongoing thing. And I think essentially what tarot teaches is how to see both sides of the coin.
Yeah.
And for me, I feel like that's important, you know.
Definitely.
And and that's the thing about it. I think so many people, another thing that just popped in my head with this subject matter is the fact that so many people are terrified of tarot. And another misconception that I've gotten many a times is that tarot can tell you when or how you're gonna die.
Oh my God,
Have
yes.
you gotten that one?
Oh my God. The first question ever that my grandma asked me was, when am I gonna die? And I'm like, Grandma, we don't read into
Really?
that. Like, I mean, some people do. Don't take my words out of context. Some people do read into that stuff, whether that be with tarot, whether that be with Lenormand, whether that be with oracle cards, whatever other system outside of cartomancy, runes, whatever, psychic. That is something that people do. I personally do not do that. At the end of the day, also through the years of working with tarot, I have learned that we do not have one specific exit point out of this life. In my experience, there is multiple different points at which our soul can choose to exit our body. So when you would go read into like, when am I going to die? You're not specifically going to get the right opportunity, not opportunity, but the right exit point, right? It could be just an exit point that's closest to you, but it could be actually exiting this physical existence at the third, fourth, fifth, 10th point. So with that, I don't really see the accuracy. And at the end of the day, what are you going to do with the knowledge that you're going to die in, let's say, a week? Is it going to change anything? I mean, for some
No.
people, probably, but
Yeah.
and for some people who are
It'll
going to
freak someone out, I'll tell you that.
yeah, right, like you're going to die in
Somebody
two
tells me
years
I'm dying in a week, I'm like, what?
Yeah, like, well, if you heard that you were going to die in a week, you would probably just go party your ass out and then die. But if you hear like you're
Basically.
going to die in 10 years, like in 10 years, you're probably going to have that on your mind all the time. You aren't going to get proper sleep because you're going to be stressed out because of that and nervous, like this is coming, and so on and so forth. So, what's the real point? When you go, right? And the most we can do, I feel like with tarot, the best opportunity, and we touched on this last week in the last week's episode, like use the cards to have the best possible experience in life right now. That's the real point. It's really to offer you insight and guidance. So your experience of life, your experience of people around you and the things that you're doing is giving you the most joy, that it's giving you the most pleasure, and you can enjoy life rather than having to suffer, right? And I don't see the real point of reading into death with that. And at the same time, yes, I don't think that the tarot, in its kind of an essence like that, is going to be super accurate as well.
Right. Yeah.
It's kind of my
So
two cents.
to put it lightly, ladies and gents, to put it simply, the tarot does not tell you when you're gonna die. Okay?
Exactly.
It's not gonna tell you that. You don't have to fear being given news of that nature.
Yeah.
Okay? It's not gonna do that at all. And I think,
Yeah.
again, that's the second, I think, biggest misconception is that
Hmm.
tarot gives you bad news.
Yes.
Right? It's always going to give you something foreboding of something prophetic of death or pet pestilence,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
goddess and God knows what else, right?
No, no.
So yeah,
I
so
think
I think
yeah, I think the next point for me was the aspect of, it's more so common in the community among readers, the aspect of fortune telling. Because I feel like a
yeah,
lot of people have stepped out of the practice of fortune telling and focus more so on self development and stuff like that, which is absolutely amazing. And I do practice that as well. But I know that it was something that for a while troubled me. I know that there was a year or so in specific that I was really doubting myself and doubting my skills as far as fortune telling and whether or not I should actually do something like that. Because for me, it's sort of a combination of both fortune telling as far as where the opportunities are and sort of if that comes through, what time frames there are as well, plus the sort of self-development, empowerment, and stuff like that. But I know that there is a huge debate, and you could say misconception that tarot is not supposed to be used for fortune telling, when that was the practice for many centuries, let's say. So, what do you think about that? Have you come across that sort of debate in the community and around people?
many times. Yes, I have, and I that's one of the biggest things also I feel.
Yeah.
And there's a well-known reader and card designer, and I'm sure you know him, and I believe you do, Robert
Hmm.
Hand. And
Yes. Oh, yeah.
so really great guy, and he's also a native New Yorker. Hey, Rob.
Hmm. Oh my God, yes.
he
I love his
he said
style
it.
in general.
Yes, he said it best a couple of years ago. There was a documentary that I watched. It was a British documentary. He was in it, and a few other well-known, like Mary K. Greer and a few others. And they
Where's this
talked about
documentary?
it's I'll send you the link. It's on YouTube. I
Okay.
actually have it saved, so I have it on a flash, so I'll
Hmm.
send it your way. But if anybody
Yes,
else is
please.
interested in seeing it, just drop us an email and we'll send you the link. So
Yeah.
it's a bunch of well-known tarot readers, and they talk about these sort of things as well. And Robert Hand was in the documentary, and he mentioned the fact that because you have a tarot deck doesn't make you a fortune teller or reader. It just makes
Hmm.
you someone with a tarot deck.
Exactly. You just have a set of images.
He's like it. There's a difference between a tarot collector, a tarot enthusiast, and a tarot reader. And in essence, some
Yeah.
people would think that that sort of statement's a bit arrogant, but it's not. It basically what he was touching on, the fact that tarot has become very mainstream. There was uh, a controversy a couple of months ago where I believe it was Sephora that had some sort of witch kit, and it came with tarot cards and a candle and some other stuff.
Wow.
Uh,
Okay.
and
Is that
people in the
Sephora for makeup and stuff like that?
makeup, yeah. The
Okay.
Sephora witch kit, if I'm not mistaken, had candles, crystals, and I believe like a mini tarot deck or something. And the community was pissed. They were like, this is completely disrespectful. This is not some fad. This is something we take very seriously, and Sephora's over here trying to make some money out of it. And I believe because of the controversy and the backlash that they received, they pulled the witch kit from the website and from social media and all of that. But
Yeah.
what Robert Hand was saying is true. It's people think of it as a fad, or or it's something interesting, and I have a deck of cards now and I'm just going to pull them, and now I'm a fortune teller, now I'm a reader,
Yeah.
and it's not really how it works. This is a craft that takes much time
Exactly.
and dedication to learn.
Exactly.
And that's what he was saying. So, and I have to agree. I have to agree. A lot of another misconception is that people don't take it serious enough. Some people are terrified of it, and then you get on the other side of it, where
Yeah.
people just don't take it seriously at all. They just think it's something fun and cool, and like, hey, oh, I'm gonna get a deck of cards, and yeah,
Yeah.
that makes me cool. That makes me, experimental because I have a tarot deck. And, like I said, everything turns into a trend, a fad. And I think that's
Yeah.
where, like I said, a lot of people in the community get very upset about that,
Of course.
because
And I think
again,
that,
the fortune
yeah,
telling thing, that's what they think it is.
yeah. And sort of the flip side of that as well, to say people are against fortune telling, but when you actually look at the people who approach you as far as clients, a lot of people sort of come with the aspect of fortune telling as the main thing they want, which is
Mm-hmm.
absolutely fine sometimes. And sometimes it's useful to kind of have that sort of information if the situation is appropriate. But even in those situations, personally for me, I feel like it's most important to look at external circumstances, internal circumstances with where the person is, where the situation is heading, what opportunities come through during that kind of a timeline and stuff like that. Besides just saying like, okay, you're going to find love or you're going to find a new job on the 16th of December, right? I feel like there is also an important side to make with that, and I believe we touched on that in the previous episode as well, to uh, make the questions and the way you approach tarot more so about the discovery aspect and not just kind of a trying to confirm certain things or make one specific thing you envision happen, but open up to different possibilities and opportunities. So
Absolutely.
there's definitely that flip side as well, and I feel like it just goes to show as well how much contradiction it is within the cards and within the actual systems or surrounding the actual system with people who practice it. So there is a lot to be said with that. But
There
yeah,
is.
I do you get a lot of those types of questions where it's like, just tell me what's going to happen with this situation in the next 6 months or something like that?
I would say a good chunk, I would say a good 80-85% of my
Hmm.
readings are those type of questions. And I then explain, okay, well, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to look at, whatever time frame they request and see what the possible outcomes are. And I always explain that these are possible outcomes. Free will
Yeah,
is always a factor.
exactly.
And because again, that's the truth, and some understand that, and some others have this entitlement that, oh, I'm paying you, so you better tell me what I want to hear, kind of thing. And it's like, well, that's not how tarot works. But if I'm met with that sort of response, I'll just give a person their money back. I'm like, listen, you're really not understanding how this works. You're probably not ready, or you might need to seek out another reader.
Hmm.
So, but I think another factor that we should talk on quickly, I
Yes.
feel, the misconception of certain cards in the deck.
Oh yes, Three of Swords, Death, Ten of Swords. I already know. I already know. The Devil,
The
the Tower.
devil.
Oh my God, Death, the Devil, the Tower. Once people see that, it's like, am I going to die? Is he going to die? No.
Yes, yes. That is
Actually,
another.
it's funny to see those reactions sometimes. Because you're like over here, like, no, Linda, you're not going to die.
I have to really talk some of my clients I mean away from the edge, because they see the devil card pop out in a spread, or the death card, or like you said, the Three of Swords or the Ten of Swords, and it's like, oh my God, this is bad, this is bad,
It's
bad,
game
bad.
over.
But and to what we were talking about earlier, I think again, tarot shows you both sides of nature, the good and the bad, and it tells the story. And I think there's just so many factors in that, because some people don't want to see the full story. They only want to see what they want to see. And
Exactly.
tarot will show you the whole story. It'll show
Yeah.
you the whole picture, not just pieces, not just the parts you want to see, but the whole shebang. Okay?
Yeah.
And I think that's what's fearful the most, because people don't want to see things for what it is fully. Okay, a lot of times, again, we've talked about this last week, a lot of people tend to be in denial, or they suppress certain aspects of the story, and they don't want to see the full on, to face the reality of the situation. But guess what? That's what tarot does. Tarot shows you the whole thing.
Exactly.
So when cards like the Three of Swords or the Ten of Swords pop up, or death, or but even other cards are misconstrued, for example, the Lovers.
Oh yeah.
Everybody loves the Lovers, but that's
Hmm.
not actually the best card in a
That
relationship
can
reading.
be, it can be a double-sided thing. Like the lovers doesn't necessarily have to be like, oh, this is my love interest. No, this is like my love interest's mistress, right? It can be that sometimes.
If it's with another queen, if you've got the Lovers in there with another queen or another king, you might have a triangle going on.
Hmm.
If if there's other majors, such as like the devil and the Lovers, it may be
Manipulation.
somebody who's, yeah, who may have maybe even a sex addiction. I remember I picked that up in a reading one time. um she was wondering why her boyfriend at the time
Hmm.
was acting kind of strangely, and kind of like on the dime, just wasn't really responding to her. He would just go MIA for days at a time.
Yeah.
From what I remember, I pulled the Lovers, I pulled the devil card. um I forget, and then there was a Queen of Cups in there, and a couple of other cards indicative of um he had some addiction issues, right?
Hmm.
And to me, it just all that spread alone was indicative of someone with an addictive personality as a whole. But because of the Lovers, the devil, and all of that, it was sexual.
Yeah.
But also because of the cups, he might have enjoyed the alcohol a little too much as well. So there was some serious demons with him, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I asked her, and that's when she told me he was in recovery. He was a recovering
Ah,
addict.
I see.
And right. And so from the combination, it seemed like he fell off the wagon, and that's why he went MIA on her. So,
That makes
yeah.
sense.
And I think at first she was not happy with the news, and she was like, "Oh no, but he's in recovery. He's been clean uh X amount of months, or I think, yeah, it wasn't long that he was clean."
Yeah.
So, but I guess it was a lot for her to take in. But how would I have known the man had addiction issues? I didn't know him from a can of paint. I was just telling her what I saw in the cards.
Yeah. Exactly.
And but then when I broke it all down, she was like, "You know what? It makes sense. I was worried. I was dreading that. But I'm glad you gave me the clarity, because it was in the back of my mind that perhaps he did fall off the wagon, and that's why he's been MIA. She wasn't mad at me. It's just that she was hoping it would be something else
Yeah.
but that.
There's
And
always
that's what
hope.
right. And that's what I mean when a lot of times people don't want to see the full story, or they don't want to see certain facets of it because it's heavy and it's dark.
Oh, yeah.
And, of course, everybody wants to be positive. Everybody wants to look at the lighter side of things, but the cards will show you everything. And I think
Oh,
that's what
exactly.
people fear the most. People fear seeing the whole enchilada. So that's why, last week we talked about how, how to get the most out of a reading. We said to just be open, fully open to the information that
Yeah.
comes in. Some of it might not be pleasant, but whatever is coming in is for your greater good.
Yeah. Listen, personal experience is just today. I was pulling a card for myself in the morning just to kind of get some intel on kind of a focus points, what may be good to do today and stuff like that. And I was actually feeling really good. Like mornings for me, I'm usually cranky. For anyone who doesn't know me, I'm usually cranky a little bit when I wake up. So the days when I wake up like excited and happy are rare. And I was like that in the morning. So I'm like, first thought that I had is like, how do I make my day better? Then I'm thinking that doesn't leave enough or any room for any sort of other information that needs to come through to come through. So immediately rephrasing the question, what do I need to know about today, or what is some good points to focus on for today? And a different type of message comes through, right? It was more so about the fact of dedication and making the point of sticking to what you need to do and what you know you have set for yourself. So I feel like in that respect, going back to the last week's podcast as well, it's important to open up, and I feel like that's another great message for this as far as misconceptions. And another one that I will quickly touch on before we close the today's podcast was actually the fact of people coming through and believing that they need to give us as least amount information possible for us to do a reading. That's something that happens ever so often. It's not necessarily that often, but in certain situations it does happen. And I understand certain psychics and certain readers will go off very little information. For me, and I believe for Chas, you as well, is the case of I need a little bit of either backstory or at least some sort of question so I know what I'm going into. Without
Right. Or
that,
an
I
idea. An
can't,
idea.
yeah, I can do a very generalized reading. That's no problem for me. But if you want
Absolutely.
something specifically for you, something that's going to help you, then you have to be specific yourself. So I feel like for people who have the idea that they have to keep all the information for themselves and we have to guess, stop doing that. Open up a little bit. It's not about you telling us everything, but just give us round or well-rounded cliff notes about what's going on. And that's that.
Exactly. And that's actually what I was talking about last week. I remember when you asked me
Yeah.
firsthand, and I said, the broad questions, or I think what I actually meant was that they just give you the bare minimum.
Yeah.
And okay, I just told you like two things,
Mm-hmm.
I want to love reading. I'm I'm single. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like,
Or the
okay.
questions for relationships, like I'm in a, or no, can you read into a relationship with me and this person? Are we going to work out? I get those two questions. It actually happens quite often. And I'm like,
Or a breakup. A breakup is
yeah,
another one.
listen, in those types of situations, if I get like a written or recorded a request for a reading, I'll make a point of actually starting the reading off with opening a third question or cards for the third question to actually look at where the situation was and where it is right now before
Right.
I can step into seeing what the possibilities are, where things are going, and what the potential is. Because at the end of the day, you have no basis or ground to know where you're heading and in what direction things are going, and to know what sort of issues or things happened in the past that could potentially come up in the future or presently, I don't think is beneficial. So open up when you're getting a reading. Be more specific with your questions. I think here.
Just quickly, I just want to say, like, when I've had those situations, 9 times out of 10, it was because there were certain aspects of it they didn't want to disclose. Like when I explained about the woman her boyfriend was actually a married man. That that was the
we
part
spoke
of
about that one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, remember I told you about that.
Yes.
That was the part that she did not want to disclose. She was referring to him as her boyfriend, but didn't want to disclose the full circumstances. But guess what? It came up in the cards. So when I asked her, or actually when I told her, I said, it looks like this man is attached. And, with justice there, this looks very much like this man may be married and has a family. Because, we had justice in 10 of cups.
Oh, yeah. That's like family through and through, commitment for life. Like,
yeah. And then there was a chariot. So he was away with his family. Remember I told you? So she was wondering why she hadn't heard from her boyfriend. And that's when I explained, well, from the looks of it, it looks like he's on vacation with his wife and kids. And again, remember I told you, long pause. And I guess that was the part of it she did not want to disclose for whatever reason. And again, these are the things that tend to happen. And again, we're not responsible for what comes up in the cards. And you get called out, because if you're giving us bare minimum and it comes up in the cards,
but that's the thing. I feel like
you can't shoot the messenger. You can't do it.
And a lot of people I feel like are afraid to say certain things because of shame, or that they kind of get out there. I feel like a policy of any professional reader will be to keep what they have heard or learned in a reading to themselves and not spread it to people. Amongst ourselves readers, we do talk about certain cards or certain things that happen, but it's more so to the effect of what we have pulled from that reading, or what sort of combination we got and what sort of a learning curve that was for us. I know personally I have never disclosed details of a reading specifically to say, like, this is the type of person, this is what they asked me, this is their problems, this are their problems and stuff like that. I think that that's a trait of any professional reader in that aspect. And the second point as well with that is regarding the shame aspect. If you feel ashamed of something, I feel like a reading in that sense is a safe space for you to deal with that, to open up about that, to get answers and to get help and guidance on that aspect. Because any reader or any person who is going to try and help you and judge you, and this is beyond the spiritual community, into psychology, anything else, that is there to help you in one way or another, and is going to judge you for what you have done, is not the right professional for you.
Right, absolutely. And in that situation, I sensed there was shame there, and that's when I spoke to her. I said, listen, this is a judgment-free zone. No one's judging you here. And I think when I explained that, it opened her up to talk about it, and she shared some of her feelings and thoughts about it, and that's another aspect of it. There is parts where they just want a place where they won't face that sort of judgment. We're human beings, and we're flawed, and we don't always make the right choices. That's life, and it is not my job as a reader to judge you for that. Everything has its lessons involved. So whether her situation, clearly there was something bigger happening there where she had to learn and grow from it, whatever the case may be, just like all of us. You know what I mean? So I've never been in a I mean, even outside of reading, I never really judge people in their situations because, again,
I do.
everyone, everyone is faced. I mean, I have my moments where I get judgy on things, you know,
I
I'm not
mean,
gonna
I
lie.
judge people who are assholes. If that makes sense. I judge people
Yeah,
who are assholes. Like, if you're kind, if you're good, like, you have nothing to worry about. Assholes, and I don't, just to make things clear, this is not talking about the people that I read for. This is more so private life. I just wanted to say I do judge people when it comes to private life and the people who are assholes. So if anybody is listening, if you're an asshole,
true,
just know
true.
I'm
Yeah,
judging
yeah, I
you.
agree.
I'm judging you hard.
I concur. I concur. But yeah, like what I was just saying about the scenarios that, you know, and the situations people encounter, especially from a reading standpoint. But like I said, yeah, outside on a natural and people that act like jerks, yeah, that's a different thing entirely. Like, you will be judged for being an a-hole. I co-sign to that. But like I said, as far as, you know, kind of like the messy situations, you know, you're in or whatever the case may be, we all get into them. We all have our own level of situations that are, you know, messy and not pleasant. And again, we make choices that are not always the right choices. But I always say this. Um, I always say that, I'm trying to think about it now. Now I'm having a brain fart. But, but I always say there's no such thing as essentially right or wrong in certain situations because it's just about living, you know. And so I guess in a way it kind of goes with that do what thou wilt, which is very controversial of a concept,
It
you
is
know, like,
quite.
that concept comes from the satanic Bible. But again, I'm not a Satanist, people. um I just find certain things that resonate in certain areas. And for me, it's like, yeah, we're all learning and growing till we basically die. And sometimes in the choices we make, we it might not be the right choice. It might not be, you know what I mean? It may or may not be, but essentially it's about living and going forward and growing. Now, if you're continuing to do the same thing over and over and not learning from it, that's another thing entirely. That's another episode. But what I'm just trying to say to clarify is there's no such thing as I have to make this right. I have to do this. And basically it's about living and learning. That's what I'm just trying to say. And when I'm doing a reading, I just want you to be clear on that. There's no judgment. You're living and learning just like the rest of us.
Yeah, true.
There it is. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay.
We make
I
our own mistakes as people. At the end of the day, it comes down to that. We are all human, so we are bound to make mistakes. We are bound to do crazy stuff or stupid stuff and just make the wrong choice. And yeah,
Right.
I
Exactly.
like
And that's what I'm trying to say, guys. There it
yeah,
is.
it's
Boom.
important to do things for safety. Yeah,
Yeah. And the cards don't judge you either. The cards
oh
just
no,
tell the story.
yeah, they're just gonna tell
That's
you what
another
you
thing.
should
That's
think
another
about.
misconception.
Yeah,
The cards don't like me, right? Do you ever get
yeah.
that? Oh, your cards don't
Oh my
like
God,
me.
the cards don't like me is usually the fact of you having some internal struggles as far as self-doubt, fear, or even sometimes self-hatred, and the cards reflect that. I've had that happen quite a bit. And it's like the cards don't like me. It's like, no, Linda, you don't like yourself. So
Right. The
listen,
cards the cards aren't judging you guys. The cards don't hate you.
you're
Okay?
judging yourself, yeah, right? So that's most often that's the case. When it comes to that, it's not the cards judging you. They're just reflecting the sort of judgment and the sort of pressure that you're putting on yourself most of the time.
Absolutely. It's a
Mm,
reflection. It's a reflection of where you are and, in the situation as it is.
exactly.
So that's how it works, guys.
Yeah.
So I really hope today was enlightening about this, because doing this as long as we've been getting this quite often, and
Oh yeah.
it's tarot is a wonderful, intriguing tool, and it is something not to fear. It is not something
Yes.
that it's been constantly demonized for so long, and I I even faced my own kind of I guess trials and tribulations with this for myself on a personal level. Sometimes I just wanted to step away because I just got tired of the responses and the backlash and the stereotypes of people that do this for a living and the craft of it as a whole.
Yeah.
But this is something that has been a life, pretty much a lifelong passion for me. Most of my life, actually, like half my life, I've been reading them, and it's a passion that has not died. And and for those who are listening, who have discovered this path and tarot and want to explore it, I fully support that. As a person who's been on a 20-year long journey with tarot, it's been actually a love affair for me, that has been ongoing, and it's been a beautiful journey, and tarot has opened me up to so many wonderful experiences and people in my life. And yeah, so go forth and discover all that is tarot, my friends.
Exactly. It's funny what you said. I was just thinking, like, tarot has been the longest relationship I have ever been
Right?
in, which is fun. But it's a fun relationship. Like, it's a love-hate relationship at times,
Yes,
but it's a
yeah, just like
fun
everything
freaking
else.
relationship. Yeah, it's a fun relationship. So I
And
hope
it's just,
that yeah, what you pardon. My English, it broke.
yeah,
What did you want to
yeah,
say? There we go.
yeah, that's just, I just wanted to end it there, guys. Like, just don't embrace the calling. If you feel called to it or intrigued by it and want to like explore it, just don't fear it. Okay.
Yes, exactly.
And yeah, and it's been a beautiful thing in my life and in yours as well, G, and
Yes,
for
very.
many others. And yeah, it again, like everything else, it has its good points and its bad points. But again, that's nature, folks. That's the way it
Yes,
is. As above, so below. It's, some may agree, some may disagree. But again, it all starts with you, right? Like Trent Shelton says, it all starts with
yes,
you. So I'm
exactly.
gonna quote him
And
on
it's
that,
true.
and it's true.
It's
It
true.
is. It
It's
is.
definitely true.
Yeah. It's all about your comfort zone and what you're comfortable with. And like I said, if you're listening to us, obviously there's an interest in tarot, and we are here to just kind of enlighten and share our thoughts and ideologies based on our own experience. So boom, there it is, guys.
Yeah,
Okay. So this was fun.
it was. I hope everybody listening had fun. So this is our third episode. We are going strong so
Yes.
far. I hope everybody that has joined us today and in our previous episodes will be tuning in next week. Do let us know what you think of the episodes through our email, on the comments of this podcast, and on our social media, Instagram, Twitter. Hit us up if you have any questions, any inquiries about us, the podcast, getting personal readings from us. Feel free to hit our email up. And yeah, I hope everybody has a great weekend ahead. And
Yes.
we are hoping to you tune in with us next week.
Absolutely. We'll be here.
Yes, we definitely will.
All
Till next
right.
Friday, then. Much love to
Yes.
everybody. Bye
Later,
bye.
guys.